So what are we doing today? Well, it came to my attention not everybody's aware of how to feed a horse in a very easy manner. When I first learned about horses, they were stalled, and so I just thought it was normal to feed a horse twice a day, 1 or 2 flags. But as I started just keeping my horse out at pasture and allowing him to be in a carport type stall if he wanted to be or not, I learned that there's other ways of feeding a horse that make it so much more economical in your time that you need. So what I do is I put out rolls of what most people would consider cow hay, but it's not like Sudan. It's grass and it has no input, so it's technically organic. And I put out 3 of them for the winter, and I know that'll very much last. And so what I do is, as you can see, he's a little wasteful of it, but I'm not a big fan of hay rings because legs and horns and all that kind of stuff can get in it. And I really didn't see that much of a savings in putting things up in hay rings. And because I cover 2 of the 3 with a tarp, I preserve the nutrients and I keep the mold off the hay. Now I know alfalfa tends to mold a lot easier, so depending on what part of the country you're in, that might not work for you. But I read a study that showed that if you at least cover it, you save at least 2% of the nutrients per year for having it covered. And if it's on gravel, you save even more. So I use the tarps. The best tarps to use are the old signs, and they used to only be like $50, but of course, like everything, they're more like 100, maybe even 110. And then in addition to that, to save time, I buy hay, and this could be really hard to find, where it doesn't have that plastic, but it has a hemp-based string, and if your animal eats it, it's biodegradable in their gut, so you don't really run the risk of them even swallowing plastic, and you don't have to, cut the plastic off the bales, so you don't even have to do that with the way I do it. So in around late fall, I put out 3 rolls for them that will last the whole winter, and then I just expose one of them to him because preferentially horses, here I'm going to show you, preferentially horses will go right to the center here. They want to eat off the center. So Dylan here is inspecting. Anyway, so you might want to consider this if you have the ability to pasture your horse and buy big round bales. So these are the smaller round bales, but they're about 900 pounds. So I think 2 would probably last them all winter. We haven't had a really extreme winter or anything. I'm sorry for the wind, I just can't control it. This is all part of that bad weather front that's coming across the whole country. So that's what we're doing today. I hope it helps. I do know, like, a lot of people fight this idea and say, no, your horse will overeat and it'll colic. And that's really not the case. My last horse, he was a 30-year-old horse, at least 28. I know I got him when he was 12 or 15, and I know I had him for 15 years. And he did just fine because I've been using this idea for the last 11 years, and I've never had a horse even colic. So primarily because they're out walking around, and that naturally stimulates their gut, which is more of a natural state for a horse than sitting in a stall waiting to be fed, where they gobble it up greedily because they're bored and they have nothing else to do. So, if you're just introducing your horses to this idea, you might want to put it out for like a few days. Like, say your horse eats so many pounds, put enough out for your horse or horses for 2 days and let them experience eating too much and then not having any remaining, and then that'll naturally encourage them to self-regulate. And there's studies even on kids where they laid out a buffet where you had cake and cookies and candy and meat and salads and fruits and vegetables, and initially, of course, the kids gravitated toward the junky stuff, but after a time they too had a balanced diet. So you got to give a little credit to nature. It generally will figure its way, you know, it will do the right thing. So I hope this helps, and if you are spending a lot of time feeding your horses, think about this as an alternative. Anyway, I hope it helps. Bye-bye.